If you have an outline in the front of the pages I gave you. Here's my claim that wisdom is knowledge that arises in love and leads to action. So in this program, PCC, we have often had a discussion, sometimes from inquiring students, just how practical is this course of study? Do you actually do anything? And if I do this program, could I do something? All right. And I think we all agree in various language kind of terminology that with something like this, though I haven't tried this on anybody since I only made it up a couple of days ago, that we're really interested in wisdom which is has a sense of affect, concern. In the 60s, this kind of thinking was called concerned. It was concerned about Vietnam, and then, then you should study accordingly. It's a dangerous view, actually, but maybe necessary at some time, and it's hard to know when that time is. Maybe that was such a time. So there is a deep concern in this program, students and faculty, for a kind of knowing that is affectionate and not combat. And if you know the 7 Institute ideals, which 64 of us created during a weekend sometime in mid-1990s, one of them is multiple ways of knowing, and that points to knowing by imagination, by meditation, by, I don't know if it actually says sympathy or empathy. There were many opinions in the room. But anyway, that one survived in good stead, or good standing, that we subscribe to multiple ways of knowing. And so one of the ways is this knowledge that arises in love, concern, affection, compassion, which is, obviously a Buddhist word, but it's been around in the West for a very, very long time. So my suggestion is that wisdom is that knowledge, which is obviously not all knowledge. In fact, it's a very special kind of knowledge. You could even say a rare kind of knowledge that arises in love, and then it doesn't necessarily, but it does lead to. So not necessarily, but it has that power to express itself. So take Shankara, who is the most absolute monist in his interpretation of his thought, and based on the Upanishads, that there is only one without a second. There is no second. There's only one reality. As soon as you have a second, it's not reality. It's avidya, it's ignorance. This is a big statement, okay? So so it seems like you would say, well, nothing means anything. There is no second thing, since, what's the point? Shankara's monistic wisdom spills out in such a way that he then creates monasteries in all 4 corners of India. Right? And you'll find that all of these great figures who we regard as wise and deep, and who see sub specie eternitatis, under the image of eternity, seem to be devoted to the minute, to the particular. It's an amazing synthesis or combination, or tension too. All right, and so Sri Aurobindo integral is I think exactly what Sean says about Hegel, namely it is the unity of unity, oneness, and difference. It's the unity of unity and difference. Similarly, integral, or wisdom, is the unity of eternity and moment, finitude, particularity. So Ram Dass, with whom I was in a sort of ongoing conversation with a group of people for several years, whenever anybody got too excited about the present, Ram Dass would talk about, it's eternal, the bliss, the infinite, whatever else, and then as soon as somebody would get too far into the eternal, whatever else, we would look around the room, and Ram Dass was probably doing more for somebody who was, dying of AIDS in a particular person, in a particular moment. And I find this is true of these figures who are monists. They often have extreme particularity, and the really terrific people who are great at the particularity seem to have some much larger vision of some vast, mysterious, but nurturing context. Brahman, Tao, Christ, Buddha, Sophia, whatever. So this is a very interesting, this situation. So, and it seems to me that one of the things I was trying to do with this quotation, which I may give up next week, but right now it's my best I can do. Wisdom is knowledge that arises in love, which I think, because I think love is the sort of the ultimate ontological reality. Could be creativity, it could be spirit, etc. But love is pretty good. So we're having a little celebration for Brian sometime soon, and Brian wrote and said he wants everybody to be able to make a statement about love. I'm going to record it. I don't think I will, but anyway. So what are people going to say? I think they're going to say something that love is the ultimate, right? So you could say, in the beginning was love. Love is sort of working on it with our very imperfect help, and it's all leading in that direction. Steiner says it's all leading toward love and freedom. Not everybody emphasizes freedom, but for him, you can't have love without freedom. So it's a whole interesting question. Okay, so now another way to talk about it, that's what I call a characterization. Another way to talk about it is, what am I recommending? What's a prescription? Since PCC, we tend to be recommenders. Not, we do tend that way. So it's saying, here's what you ought to think. And a little bit, here's what you ought to do. Okay. So my suggestion is that our task now is to add heart to mind and add Sophia to logos. All right, that's Western terminology, but in the there's other Asian traditions. Tao already has this. It's not clear whether exactly what you do with Brahman. More likely you would drop a level and you'd go to Krishna or Buddha. All right. Whatever tradition you're in, you have to work out some way of bringing the value and the ontos, right? The being you have to work out, which is why you have to do philosophy and religion together, which is what we try to do in this program. Okay, and then the theme is that, from my point of view, and I think from several of us in PCC pretty forcefully, and maybe some less so, and for some of you a lot, and some of you not a lot, that all of this is, I would even say necessarily, I'm going to say necessarily understood evolutionarily. That is to say, the task of the past is not the task of the present. And the people who agree with that have something very strong in common. And the people who don't can still do infinite and eternal in relation to particular and momentary. But from my point of view, and I'm in print on this in a big argument with Houston Smith in Cross Currents some time ago, it'll be on the website eventually, about what is lost if you only have those two terms, infinite, finite, temporal, eternal, but you don't have the process, the evolution, which to my mind is fundamental. So one of the purposes of the lecture is to try to convince you that our present situation is a situation which is unique and best understood in terms of how we got here. What are these major forces, processes, developments? I've just read the whole of Thomas Berry, and one of the clearest, most useful insights that he has, that he repeats over and over and over again, is this idea that there are these kind of phases of history. They each have a problem and a task and something of a solution, none of them quite perfect, that have to be understood. He's very historical, and that if we don't understand that, we don't understand the present. And he thinks he understands the present because he understands exactly which factors needed to come in, but were also then sort of overstated or exaggerated or something, that then in combination made this terrible mess. So that seems to me really important. So in terms of ecological situation, I think the evolution of consciousness is a key to know what are our capacities, what's essential, what's secondary, subordinate, inessential, however you want to say it. Okay, so now here are some sort of markers, evolutionary markers for this story. I don't use story the way Thomas and some other people do. Maybe I should, I haven't decided. But anyway, it's a history, and I'm going to take it through. So I was really quite serious about Sophia having been, a influential reality, certainly throughout the whole Mediterranean and then thereby the Western world, and that ceased to have that same, that the West ceased to experience that reality. So here's some markers on how that, what Barfield calls the loss of participation. Right? So the Western history is the history of the West losing that contact. So it's sort of a light getting dimmer and dimmer, right? Slowly and almost imperceptibly, century by century. Each century thinking that it has the great insight, but this shadow dimension is, yes, but losing. So we started with the goddess Sophia being real, being kind of ontologically fundamental. And then there is still in Plato these ideals that are real, that work, that influence, that, I like this phrase, that ray out. They're like, sometimes you see a drawing of a sun or a in the Catholic liturgy there's a host, and then there's these golden rays, all right? Or also I've seen this in many indigenous cultures where there's this tremendous raying out of some great source. And Plato has this, it's very often up and down, which is a little, it's sort of hard to get rid of that spatial hierarchy in Plato. But I think if we work at it, we could do this. This way in which this ontological reality has all of its collaborators, its participants, all right, all kind of living off this mother idea of, say, love or truth or beauty or justice, and how they're then in this great dialectic. Jake is an expert on eros in this Platonic tradition, and I think it's a great study because it's philosophical, it's spiritual, it's artistic, it's edifying, it's efficacious. If you think about this, the way in this great dialogue between the ontological primary and the ontological subsequent, that to do it in temporal terms.